This year has been absolutely fantastic for new light novels. Join me as I go through some of my favourites. Hello and welcome back to the channel. It's been some time, I do apologise. Today we're going to look at, well, quite a few of my favourite light novels that has released this year. Now, we're only halfway through the year and already we have a plethora of absolutely fantastic titles. Now, this is going to be in no particular order, but I've got a pile right here, just down here, of light novels, all by Yen Press. That's right, we're doing a Yen Press dedication in this channel, that I think are worth checking out. Now, they're not going to be for everybody, but you know what? There is a lot of very good titles out here. Yen Press have just knocked it out of the park so many times with a wide variety, keyword variety, of light novels. So, without further ado, let's have a look and see what there is. If you've got a light novel that you have really enjoyed this year, let me know in the comments and maybe I'll check it out sometime. Let's get light noveling, shall we? The first is actually, well, it's a set of 4, and this is the Yen Press Junior light novels. We have Phantom Thief Red, we have Online, we have Canine Detective Crest, and we have Horror Collector. Now, this is a set of light novels that is aimed for ages 8 and up, so yep, your younger generation, but honestly, if you've got a kid who is really into books and likes anime, you might want to check out some of these. If I'm going to be perfectly honest, a lot of these are actually written better than a good amount of your generic trash out there. For example, Phantom Thief Red. It's a heist series. Yep, something we don't really see very often. Online. Somewhat deaf gamesy, but it's your MMO kind of style online. Now, I will cover another series later on the video that kind of is a little bit more adult version of this, but if I'm perfectly honest, I think I enjoyed this one a little bit more, which is surprising. We've got Canine Detective Crest, which is, well, it's not necessarily a murder mystery, but it is a mystery series. And we have Horror Collector, which is genuinely a horror series, which again we don't see much of. Japan has a very unique way of doing horror series, which honestly I really love. If I'm perfectly honest, do check out some of these titles. They are worth your time in my opinion. They're not going to knock your socks off, but you know what, if you want somebody to get into light novels who's a little bit younger, check some of these out. So we've just talked about Online, a game about, well, gamers online. Now, next up we're going to talk about Demon's Crest. Nope, it's not that classic Capcom game. It is the new series by author of Sword Art Online. Now, I'm going to be perfectly honest, I am not really, I wouldn't say I'm not a fan, but I haven't actually read Sword Art Online. So this is my first foray into the world of this author, and this was pretty decent. A bunch of elementary schoolers are trying out this new online game, and, well, would you know it, they get trapped. Not trapped in the game, no, they get trapped in the building, but spooky things are happening as some of, well, their classmates and even the adults seem to be turning into monsters. This is one of those survival game series, but also kind of not. It does merge the real world with the online game world to kind of merge things as one. If I'm perfectly honest, if you like online and you want a little bit of a step up, try this one out. If I'm perfectly honest, this one had a few little bit more issues. For example, elementary school kids weren't really acting like elementary school kids, they were acting like full-grown adults, which kind of felt a little bit weird, but it was fine. It was a lot of fun, and it's not going to be the best thing this year, but if you like your kind of trashy series where, you know, it's a survival thing, people might die, people will die by monsters, oh scary, you're gonna have a good time with this. It's another monster killing thing, only with a gaming aspect merged into one. Yeah, I liked it. I didn't love it, but it was a good time passer. Next up, we're going to talk about one of the very big hitters for this year, and it is Brunhild, the Dragon Slayer. Now, I'm going to be perfectly honest, I'm only halfway through reading this, but it is a good one, and I genuinely mean a good one. If you are aware of the legend of Brunhild, you might find some familiar stuff in here. This is a dark fantasy about a young girl who is brought up by a dragon. And, well, unfortunately, the humans come and kill the dragon. The girl survives and she vows revenge. I'm about halfway through, but I can already see it. This is one that you guys want to check out, because I know a lot of people did ask, oh, I'm interested in this one. Is it worth picking up? Oh, well, yeah, we'll find out. It is genuinely worth your time. Next up is Agents of Four Seasons, and this one is the one that I'm going to give the award to that I feel like I should have liked more than I did, but I was also intrigued enough that I do want to check out some more of the volumes. Agents of Four Seasons. Now, this is the same author as Violet Evergarden, and while that doesn't reach anywhere near those highs, it is a very competent title. This is about the seasons, who are actually people. Yeah, it's a strange one. And, well, winter falls in love with spring. However, because these are people, there are people who want, oh, they don't want spring to come, or they want to throw the chaos and seasons, and so spring is kidnapped. And, well, she arrives again 10 years later. Now, this is a little bit dark, it's a little bit psychological, but it is genuinely interesting. The first chapter really does reach those Violet Evergarden highs, and while the subsequent chapters do not manage to reach those, it is one that I do genuinely feel that is going to be worth checking out. Now, I've read volume 1, I've never picked up anything since, but I do plan on doing eventually, once the backlog gets down and we stop getting all of these amazing series. It is one that is, I think, worth checking out. It's not going to be for everybody, but it is going to have a lot of stuff for a lot of people. Definitely worth trying it. Next up is one that is going to be a little bit controversial for some people, because I saw somebody on Reddit mention that they read this and they absolutely slated it off. But if I'm perfectly honest, I had a lot of good times with this one. This is Miss Savage Fang. This is about this overpowered mercenary who gets reborn as, you know, the villainess. Now, normally in villainess series, they try to avoid all of the plot holes and stuff like that to kind of save their own skin. No, this is the strongest mercenary, remember. He basically trains the villainess, the princess, to be way overpowered, and of course ends up going to magic school or what have you, royalty school. And of course you have all of these things that keep happening, but of course you've got this overpowered princess who's just going around killing pretty much anything. Solve that local drug problem, which actually genuinely is a thing in here. The local drug problem, they're just like, oh yeah, well, you know, go beat this guy up, go beat that guy up. Oh yes, we're kind of solving it. It was daft. It's not one of the best things ever, but it was a lot of good fun. And you know, the artist is the one who did Shireen from Hololive. So yeah, I mean, the art is worth thinking. Is it a 1 out of 10? Is it 2 out of 10? Is it 3 out of 10? Absolutely not. This is a very solid 6 or 7. It's not the best thing, but again, much like Demon's Crest, it's going to be a lot of fun, and sometimes you want that as a nice little mixture. Don't kind of go in thinking the best thing ever, but think of it something stupid and something fun. Now, the next 5 are all absolute bangers in different aspects. This is what I've said, these are all different things. They're not your usual things, and well, some of them kind of are, but they're unique twists on them. First up is You Can't See the Snow. Now, this is more of a Japanese novel rather than a light novel, but it's still done by Yen Press, and I'm not really going to get a chance to talk about it otherwise, am I? Well, this one is one where, well, it's a bit of a Sleeping Beauty story. We've got our protagonist who falls in love with this beautiful girl, and they have the summer of their life. They absolutely have an absolutely fantastic. However, she disappears come winter, and when he finds out, it turns out that every winter this girl, she goes into what is essentially a coma, and obviously comes back in the spring. So yeah, you can't see the snow. She's never seen snow because once it gets to a certain temperature, she just kind of goes into this coma. And I liked it. It was a really nice romance story. Now, I'm not going to spoil the end of it. You kind of have an idea of what's going to happen, even just by reading the synopsis. It's a little bit predictable, but don't think of that as something bad. This one is a very emotional title. It is a very good one, and if you want your one-shot titles, for example, you've got where is it? 3 Days of Happiness, which you can't see on here. You've got Tatami Galaxy, you've got all of them other ones, Foxtails, Night is Short. This one is definitely worth putting on your shelf. It is a real good time. That I was, like I said, I was quite emotional by the end of it. So yeah, if it made me feel things, it's always a good plus for me. Next up is a title that I really want to do a video on, but I know for a fact YouTube's just not going to let me do one. But one day I will. I think Volume 2 is out very shortly in terms of physical, at least I hope. So I will do a full-on video once I've done that. But this one is, well, written by the author of Goblin Slayer, art by the one who did Overlord, Bade and Bastard. Can I say that? Can I say that on YouTube? Or will I get evil eyes? Well, who knows? I might just risk it. But yes, Bade and Bastard is an absolutely fantastic. If you want, it's based on a game called Wizardry, which is kind of like a game based on Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah. But it is a very good one. If you like your dark traditional fantasies, this one needs to be on your list. And I'm really surprised at how little I've actually heard people talking about this. It had a little bit of a buzz when it kind of got announced and a lot of people were excited, and the physical kind of came out, but the physical kind of came and went and nobody really talked about it. I was quite surprised. I mean, like I said, it's one of those ones where a YouTube video is going to be kind of like, yeah, very difficult, but no, I quite like this. This is about a guy who is basically, I wouldn't say the trash collectors, he's the guy who goes into the dungeons to collect the corpses of fallen heroes. And he finds this young girl who is basically treated as a dog kind of thing. And they form an unlikely alliance. And as you can kind of see, it looks like they're going to have this kind of group where they're going to do all of this kind of like Dungeons and Dragons, clear the dungeon kind of, kill the evil wizard kind of thing. But with kind of like the unlikely heroes, the ones who kind of like the afterthoughts, and I like that. I like that aspect because it's always, you know, it's the healer, the hero, the mage, that kind of stuff. Nope, this is the dark nitty-gritty underbelly of the whole of the world, rising up to fight, well, whether or not they will fight the final things, they just seem to be kind of surviving at the moment. But yeah, I really like this one, a real good treat, definitely check this one out. Next up is Rivier, and yeah, this one is a spin-off to the absolutely wonderful Wandering Witch. Wandering Witch is a title that I have really hyped up over the last few years, and whenever I pick up a new volume, I always really enjoy it. So as soon as the spin-off got announced, I really wanted to check it out, and I wasn't disappointed. Now, it doesn't quite hit the same as Wandering Witch, but you know, it's kind of the start. Wandering Witch goes from different country to country. We start getting a few recurring characters. Now, this is actually a recurring character from, I believe it's like volume 9 or 10. And that was just like a short story during the Wandering Witch thing. This is the whole thing, and it's set in the Land of Prayer. Now, what is in the Land of Prayer are these kind of relics, and these relics end up kind of causing wishes to be granted, but there's always a twist. And Rivier, she owns an antique shop, and she's trying to recover the antiques. She does have a little bit of a help from our favourite Wandering Witch, so fans of Elena do want to check this one out because it does include her for the last few chapters, but it also stands on its own as its own little thing. Fans of Wandering Witch, don't skip it. Absolutely worth checking this one out. One of the best new light novels for this year. Now we're down to the final two, and again, let me know in the comments what light novels you have really enjoyed. Have you read any of these? Did you enjoy them? Did you not? Let me know. I always like to see new light novels, genuine light novels, get hyped up on the channel. So next up we have one that I think is probably going to be the runaway winner for a lot of people. The one that I think everybody's just about hyped up, and that is The Kept Man of the Princess Knight. Now I'm going to be honest, this cover and this title did not intrigue me in the slightest, but this one is genuinely worth checking out. So this is about a kept man of the Princess Knight. He is kind of the guy who kind of tends to her needs. So the Princess Knight goes in and she clears the dungeons, she does whatever in the dungeons, and comes back out and he attends to her needs on a night. And during the day, well, he kind of gets to his own little things. And yeah, it's not an interesting premise, but there is a twist in here that does make things a little bit more interesting. And, well, do I spoil it? Do I not? Because I think that the twist is the hook. Me just sitting there for like 2 minutes going, yeah, it's good, 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 it's good. Go read it. Isn't probably the best way to kind of promote it, but there is a really good twist. There is a lot of darkness in this. If you want a very kind of, I feel like sometimes I feel like a series that makes you think, that is slightly kind of morbid and creepy, is a little bit better than some of these ones where, oh, it's dark. Why is it dark? Well, a bunch of kids get decapitated. There's kind of like a mature adult kind of read, and there's kind of like, oh yeah, this is like scary for like 5-year-olds. It's kind of like one of those things, but yeah, I'm going to just see it. Read this one, enjoy the twist, enjoy the thing. I'm a little bit hesitant because the twist was such a kind of specific twist, and then there was a twist at the end. The twist at the end kind of put me off reading any more of it, but Volume 2 is out. I have been meaning to cover this on the channel. I'm going to wait until Volume 2 comes out, read that, and do a full in-depth video, because this one, it is one of the best this year. But there's one I actually enjoyed a little bit more. Let's talk about that one now. So to cap all of this off, I'm going to finally talk about playing death games to put food on the table. Now I'm going to be honest, death games is a trope that I'm not a fan of. It's been played out time and time again. It's kind of, it only works sometimes. If it's a bunch of kids and you can't kind of, you know for a fact they're not going to die, it's kind of like, If it's overly graphic in the killing, if it's got characters that you would get too attached to and they kill them off, I'm not a fan. I don't dislike Danganronpa. I really enjoyed it the first time, but when I look back I was kind of like, this wasn't like amazing. But by the by, playing death games to put food on the table was ridiculous. I expected to hate this one. I ended up loving it, and a series that can make me do an entire 180 flip is always something special to me. I couldn't put this down, and I read the whole thing in 2 nights, which, considering I don't have that much time to read anymore, yeah, that is quite an accomplishment. This is about a young girl who, well, she plays death games to put food on the table. We have 2 death games in here. We have one in which all of the girls are dressed as maids, and we have one where they are all dressed as bunny girls. That's right, it's one where the merch people are going to absolutely go mad with it once the anime comes out. But don't let that put you off. It's not overly ecchi. You don't really get much imagery in here, but what you do get is an intriguing look on death games. And yeah, now it's kind of starting off. It's not going to go too far into it, and you are not getting kaiji. You are not getting kaiji with this. You are getting something a little bit more, I wouldn't say light-hearted, you're getting something a little bit more kind of, I don't know, it knows what it is. It's a death game series. It kind of doesn't go out of the way and go, you know, this is going to flip death games on its head. No, you're going to get a kind of interesting premise of this girl who's like, oh well, you know, I've done death games before, I'll teach you how to do death games. And it's like, oh, this is the puzzles and this is the thing. And it's like, yeah, just so you know, I mean, we're going to try and survive, but somebody might end up dying, but I will do my best to kind of keep you all alive. And yeah, of course there's twists and turns and people die and what have you, because it's death games. I mean, what more are you expecting? I mean, death games without death is not death games, unless they are death. And it's interesting. Like I said, I'm not really a fan of it, but I did genuinely love this series. It's one that is going straight on my shelf to read and collect, along with titles such as Kept Man, Brunhild, Rivier, Bade and Bastard. In fact, there's been a lot of titles this year that I've kind of read. I want to collect these. Not your kind of usual, oh yeah, you know, it's like I read it, it wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible. There's a lot of really good. I've rambled on for a bit. This has probably gone on for what, 20-25 minutes. I'm going to let you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Like I said, plenty more out there, and this is just Yen Press. J Novel Club, 7 Seas, all of the other guys, they're putting out stuff too. So share them with me. Let me know what you guys have been enjoying. And until now, I'll see you next time. Goodbye.